What's grounded, fam? It's your boy Johnny Gio. You know the deal already. I got Marty with me right now. What's grounded, Marty?
Here, just here, living the life, brother.
Living the dream one day at a time, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Hey man, thank you for coming on with me. We're doing things a little bit different today, as you can see. Just because you're not in LA or in California, I want to create this platform on Zoom, so this way, the message could get spread. Even though it's not through like personal and stuff like that. So I really appreciate your time. For people that don't know or haven't heard your story before, it's an incredible story, a story that for sure takes more than 30 minutes to like talk about because it's so deep, man. It's so deep. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing some episodes with Marty, and we're going to start with his childhood. um so when we talk about childhood, man, fuck, like my traumatic experiences and what I went through as a child for me really fueled my addiction. It probably didn't stem from there, but I know that for a fact that I was trying to numb a bunch of things that I went through in my childhood. So I really want to hit that topic for sure. But before I do, man, we gotta kick it off with some humor. Um, we try not to take ourselves too seriously, man. Like sometimes we get so caught up and so tense in life, So I'm gonna share with you one of the most embarrassing incidents that I've been through as a child, and then I want to hear what your most embarrassing incident is, just to kick it off. All right, so check it out, bro. This one's funny. Um, so I think I was about in the eighth grade, right? And I had to do a presentation, and it was in health, and the teacher had asked me to come up and do the presentation, and it was on the menstrual cycle, the woman's menstrual cycle, bro. First of all, I suck at speaking in public, let alone like in camera. Like, believe it or not, I'm super uncomfortable right now. Like I it takes a lot for me to do this, right? So um I go up in the middle of class, right? And I'm talking about the menstrual cycle. And when I'm about to say menstrual cycle, instead of saying menstrual, I say the masturbation cycle. Bro, oh my God, dude. The entire class, including the teacher, they were busting up, man. I turned so red, dude. I turned so red. I was so embarrassed. And I really think that after that moment, I was like, I'm never doing this again. Every time there was some sort of presentation, I would skip class. I would not even show up that day. I was like, I don't care. I'm not going through that again. So now that I shared that with you, how about you, man?
Man, after that, I've never been embarrassed, bro.
Seriously, that was kind of hard to top, man.
Oh, I was trying to think about it a little bit while you were talking, and I can remember when I was a kid, we lived about a mile and a half away from our real good family friends, and I was probably eight 8 years old, maybe 9 years old. And we always used to go down to our friend's house, and you had to go down this hill, and we'd ride our bikes, and you go up over this big overpass and then down off that overpass, and their house was right down there. Well, me
Right.
and my brother, we decided we wanted to go down there and visit. And so we just jumped on our pedal bikes and we went down there. And when we got down there, we were in our underwear. And yeah, yeah. And I can remember, I don't know why I remember this so vividly, but we get there and our family friends are like mortified, they're like, so I can remember they call up my mom and they're like, hey, you need to come and get Marty and Mark. They showed up at our house in their underwear. Bro, for years, I live in a little town. So
Right.
for years, like people would say, hey, do you remember when you was riding your bike down the street in your underwear?
Oh my God, that's hilarious, dude.
Yeah, so,
They probably still remember that, huh?
oh yeah, oh yeah. The like my parents' friends, they commented on it all the time, man, all the time. And I'm like, man, let it go.
Oh man, that sounds like, hey man, that sounds like a lot of fun actually too, man. Fuck it, just living la vida loca, fuck it.
Yeah, fuck it, man. This is how I like it.
Just running around on your bike in your tarantarans, huh?
Exactly, exactly. Got their fucking uh
Tidy
the
whities and everything.
Superman. What did they call those underoos?
Oh my God, man, that's hilarious, bro. Hey, thank you for sharing that, man. And that's how I want to get it started, dude. You know what I mean? Like I said, we don't want to take ourselves too serious, even though it is a serious topic and serious situations and shit. But it's all about having a good time and proving and showing to people that when you get clean and when you get sober, your life is not over. You know what I mean? Like your life is really not over. So you can have a good time and just enjoy life without the substance. So without further ado, bro, let's dive right into your childhood, because I know for a fact, bro, like the shit that I went through as a child really fueled the type of drinker that I was. So and like I said before, you're coming up on like what, almost 20 years in June, right?
20 years in June.
And congratulations on that. I really hope that you come down and we could all spend it together. It'll be super dope. So yeah, bro, just speak on that for a little bit, and I'm gonna follow up with some questions too.
Okay, I so real quick, me and you have become pretty good friends. We talk back and forth quite a bit, and I've been thinking a lot about this, and through all of these years, I've never really touched on my childhood. I come from a family. My grandmother was born and raised in Italy, and
Mhm.
so she was pretty strict. And then my grandfather, he's from Texas, and he just kind of like laid back, not really care too much, and bro, my childhood, holy moly, man, I had a mother that she believed in capital punishment. She, from a very young age, man, I remember she was just so hard to be around, to live with. I mean, my mother was hard. She hit us, she screamed at us, and I'm not bashing her. I'm not bashing her. Let's don't get it twisted.
Right, right.
She did what she had to do. Her and my dad. My dad was a functioning alcoholic, and so when I was really little, he wasn't around much at all. And when he was around, it was a constant battle, between him and my mom, screaming, yelling, fighting. Um, I can remember, you know, the people that would come to the house, on top of my dad being a functioning alcoholic, he was an engineer. And so at that point in time, he designed power plants. He was also he had hookers and heroin. He ran hookers and he sold heroin on the side.
Wow. And you knew about this as a child?
At a very young age, I knew about this, it was just the way it was, and so, like I said, he wasn't around much. When he was around, it was a lot of turmoil in my house.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember, you know, my mom, we had chores to do, and if you were cleaning the sink was part of your chore and there were water spots or something on there, then you got your ass beat, and this continued, Johnny. This continued on and on and on my entire childhood. I don't know how to say it without making my family look like they just didn't care about us.
Right.
My mom, she would tell us to leave, get out of the house, go play with your friends, do whatever, because I think that she was self-medicating, because she had a lot of shit to deal with my dad too. And I mean, and the only reason I say that I think that she was self-medicating was because as I got older, my aunts and uncles would tell me certain things that I would be like, she was loaded,
Yeah.
But, I part of my childhood was I had an older brother who was 3 years, 9 months older than me. And so he was getting into shit. And of course, being the little brother, he would be getting me into shit. And so I can remember at 8 years old. Well, let me back up for 1 second.
All
My
right.
mom and dad divorced when I was about 6. And so with that came, you had to sell the house and move. So me and my mom and my brother moved into an apartment. And I live in an oil field town, so there's people coming and going all the time. And I can remember some guys living across from us in his apartments, and they had turned my brother onto some weed. And so at 8 years old, I tried weed, and, I'm not going to say that that's what kicked off my addiction, because I don't know that for sure, but that was the beginning.
Right.
And then at 9 years old, my brother had some friends over. My mom was at work. My brother had some friends over, and we were drinking Jack Daniels. And
You were 9, you said?
huh?
You said you were 9?
9 years old.
Whoa.
And
okay.
I remember this age so well because my mother, as we get into this, you'll see my mother never let me live my life down. So at 9 years old, she always brought this story up. She came home from work and I was in the bed, puke all over the floor. And she took me to the hospital, thought that I was sick, had the flu or something. And the doctor brought me out and he said, your son is inebriated. And of course, at 9 years old, I don't know inebriated, but I can remember it as clear as day. And my mom said, he's drunk. And all hell broke loose from there, and this type of behavior went on and on, so probably around 12 years old is when I started really like smoking weed all the time.
Yeah.
I had some,
the magic number, isn't it?
it must be because, at that same age is when I can remember skipping school, and my buddy lived across the street from the junior high. And I can remember my mom coming through the door and saying, you get your fucking ass in that car now. And I'm like, okay, I'm only 12. So I'm like, okay, I know the wrath of my mother. So I get in the car. What nobody knew is that I had just eaten a big handful of mushrooms. And I'm like, oh. So we're driving home and she's just screaming. And her big thing back then was she'd reach over and grab you by the hair and pull you, and jerk you around. And, you don't dare fight back, Of
course not. You'll get it twice as hard.
Yeah. So I can remember going to the house. It's about 8 miles away or so. And I start tripping. And I'm like, and from that day forward, my life started with the using and the boozing and skipping school and, the whole everything. And with having an older brother, he would give me like a big bag of joints that they would sit and roll, and he'd say, take this to school, $2 a piece. And so 12, 13 years old, that's what I did, and so I got $1 for every one. And so I thought, man, I got all this money, man, I'm the pimp, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And so I was introduced in that time to cocaine. And, it just took hold of me. And so we were snorting it, and by the time I was 14 is when I started shooting it. And, I got a 14-year-old daughter in the other room right now, and I just couldn't imagine, this just continued for me. It just continued for me. And at 14, I started getting arrested, for back then they called it child in need of supervision. And so they would take me to jail because my mom had called the cops because I hadn't been home for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And my childhood was rough with the mother that I had, and I don't know why I'm still being hesitant about speaking about the shit that happened.
Well, you're gonna get it right now, bro.
I know.
Oh man.
I know, man. Dude, I was an abused child, man. If it was laying around, my mom would hit you with it, and it continued, and I don't know, the kids today, they don't understand the abuse. I mean, I can remember periods of time where I couldn't leave the house because my mom went off too hard, and I would have cuts like where she would hit with the belt, and I would have cuts on my cheek, or bruises and stuff all over me. And man, it was rough, bro. It was rough. And so at 14, I'm sticking needles in my arm. I'm hiding out. At 16 years old.
That's wild.
What's that, bro?
I said, that's wild, man. That's wild. It's such an early age, man. You started really young, dude.
Yeah. And so probably around 15 years old, just running amok, and had no respect. Number one, for authority. Number two, for adults. I really want to, by our next segment, I'm going to try to get the newspaper clippings of all the stuff that went down, that we were on the front page of the newspapers and stuff. But, at 15 years old, me and a buddy of mine got invited to a party, and we stole a keg of beer, and we took it, in a trailer house, how you go down the hallway, the bathroom's on the left and the back door's on the right, like in a mobile home. Well, they kept the keg in the bathtub with ice. We just went in there, picked it up, took it out the back door, took it back. Yeah, exactly. Hey, thank you. Didn't like you fuckers anyway. So we're sitting back at the house, and we're in Salt Lake City, Utah at the time, and we're just partying, and all of a sudden there's a knock on the door, and these dudes come in, and they're like, "Where's our keg?" We're like 15, 16-year-olds. There's a couple 18-year-olds maybe with us. These dudes come in, and we just fucking wrecked them. Just wrecked them. Well, of course the cops are there, so they send me back home on a Greyhound bus, and the sheriff is waiting there for me when I get back home, and take me to jail. Utah, they took you to like a juvenile hall. In Wyoming, they took you to jail. They had a juvenile pod in the jail. You were just like the adults, only it was juveniles. So anyway, I go to court, and the judge sent me to a rehabilitation center, and said, you go for a 28-day evaluation. I go to this rehab, and I'm 15 years old, man. I go to this rehab, and they kept me for 5 months.
What?
That's when I realized you can't be honest with authorities. You can't be honest. I don't know if at that time I was seeking some kind of help or some kind of guidance. I don't know. But what I got out of that rehab was, don't be honest. And so that started my career in lying. Did you do this? No, and man, I lived by lie until you die, and so yeah, I go to that rehab, man, and I'm in there for 5 months, and they let me out. And there's a bunch of war story inside that rehab too, because I had my people coming down and dropping shit out my window so I could fish line it, and I mean, I knew, I was a criminal. And so I get out of that
That's
I get
crazy.
out of,
Oh, my bad. I said that's crazy, man.
oh yeah, no, it's crazy, Johnny. I get out of that rehab and they, I go to back to court and they put me on probation. And they say, okay, here's your chance, straighten up your life. And I'm like, all right, cool, man. So that very next weekend, my buddies are like, let's go camping. So we go up to this campground way up in the mountains and we're just partying. Oh, yeah, I learned a lot in rehab, just, how we are.
Yeah.
And we're like on these picnic tables, dancing, partying. And I shit you not, brother. I look over and my fucking probation officer is in the camp next to us.
Wow.
What? I'm like, fuck, that's my luck, right?
No.
So I get done with that. I get back home. Of course, they call me in. I go in and she's like, I seen you lie until you die, right? Nope, that wasn't me. It wasn't me. I didn't go camping.
Where's your proof?
Yeah, exactly. Well, back then they don't need no proof. They're, it's you. So they send me to reform school. And wait a minute. Wait. Man, I'm skipping a huge thing that me and you talked about that I really wanted to share here.
Mm-hmm.
So by now I'm 16 and I'm fist fighting all the time. That's just what we did. And me and my buddy got in a fight with these cats up at the high school and they got their ass beat fair and square, no harm, no foul. We left and we're driving down the road and these dudes pull us over and he's got a pistol.
Oh, shit.
And I'm sitting in the car and he's like coming around to my side. That's the guy that my buddy beat up. Comes around to my side and he's like pointing the gun at my friend, but by me. And I'm like freaking out, I'm 16 years old. I'm like freaking out. And he goes with the butt of the gun and busts out my windshield.
Oh.
And I fucking drop it into drive and haul ass out of there.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, fucking cruise. I go to my mom's house and I get my stepdad's high-powered rifle. It's a 270 hunting rifle. And we go back looking for these dudes. And we're driving up that road and they're coming out of a trailer court. And we're like, there they are. This dude stops, jumps out, and just starts shooting. And so, I'm grabbing that gun and I'm like shooting back.
Whoa.
Bullet holes all in the side of my car. I'm shooting at them. We fucking empty all our shells. That dude throws his gun in the bushes and is running up the road. And I just fucking peel, man. I'm like, I'm out of here. Cruise, I go and drop everybody off and I go home and I pull in my mom's garage and I shut the garage door. And I'm like sitting there like recounting everything in my head, like, fuck, man, this is chaos,
All right.
And all of a sudden, just like that shit you see on TV, they come with them big old blowhorn things. And they're like, we have the house surrounded.
Oh,
And I'm like, oh no. So they haul me off to jail for first degree attempted murder.
yo.
Yeah, 16 years old, first degree attempted murder. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? And the other thing, Johnny, is I'm still not a drug addict in my head. I'm still not an alcoholic in my head. I don't have a problem. It's society that I had the problem with.
Right.
It wasn't what a fuckhead I was, or the teachers, or the cops, or the probation, my parents. It was me. I don't know, brother. It's I just couldn't ever wrap my mind around that I was the problem. And so right after I got done, so I get done out of that, they end up the guy who they're trying to charge me for attempting to murder, split state, won't come to court. And so they had no choice but to drop the charges.
Okay.
So, I get off again.
Another slap on the wrist.
Exactly. I don't know. I just easy, I can do this life. I'm going to beat you no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
I can beat the system. I can beat my mom. I can beat everything. Well, then I get busted for fucking up my probation again, and they send me to reform school.
Mhm.
You know, at this time, I've probably been in jail 6 or 7 times, rehab for 5 months. Um, you would think something was wrong, you know, like I could figure that out, but I'm still in that mentality of nothing's wrong with me. It's you.
Right.
Well, I
Like
do
that
this. What's that, brother?
that victimized mentality, man. Yeah, that victimized mentality. I know exactly what you're talking about. Can you clarify what kind of school that was?
Yeah, the reform school. Yeah, it was an all boys school. It was a juvenile penitentiary.
Okay.
You know, it's where if you got in trouble, that's where they sent you. You know, is if your trouble was bad enough or they'd had enough of your shit, you were going to they called it Warland. It was a little
Okay.
town, and I didn't learn anything, man. I didn't learn anything. By the time I got there, all my friends were there. You know, so
It was another party.
exactly. I get there, and you had to walk through a main building, then through a courtyard into the unit. And as I'm going through that courtyard, one of my best friends ever is like yelling out the window, and he's like, "Hey, motherfucker." And I'm like, "Who's calling me a motherfucker?" I look, and it's him, and he's like, "I got you in my room."
Whoa.
I'm like, "Peace. I got this," you know? And that's how I lived it up there too, is in trouble all the time, fighting all the time, having dope brought in all the time. And I got transferred from there straight to a penitentiary.
Wow.
You know, my childhood, Johnny, that I need to touch on a little bit is my brother. And as we get more into this, I'm going to share some more about my brother. Me and him had a love-hate relationship. He was my older brother. We fought he used to kick my ass all the time, you know, and we fought, but I loved him.
Mhm.
And later on in life, he ended up dying from this disease. You know, he moved away, got out of Wyoming, moved to Phoenix, Arizona, hanging with those guys down there and shooting dope, and he got AIDS, and that killed him, you know. So still didn't learn nothing, you know, and I'm sure we'll talk a lot more in detail about that section of my life. But you know, my childhood, I had a grandmother who absolutely adored me. She was mean to the point of, you know, an old Italian woman is mean.
Mhm.
But whenever I would get myself in a bind, or whenever I would be locked up, you know, my grandma was always there for me, always. And my mother wasn't, you know, she pretty much wrote me off, you know, can't do anything with you, you know. And still to this day, that's how she is with me.
Wow.
You know, she was just a mean person, you know, and I'm sure she has her demons or
Mhm.
whatever, but I do not have a relationship with my mother today. I chose a few years ago to walk away, cut my ties. I tried, you know, I had been clean for 17 years, and I was still that piece of shit running the streets, you know, doing the craziness. And every time one of my kids would get themselves in some kind of trouble or anything, my mom would always say, "Well, how were you at that age? Or what did you do at that age?" And, you know, my honest answer was I would fuck it up. And that's what I'm trying to prevent my children from doing, is fucking it up.
Right.
So yeah, I don't have a relationship with her. Haven't talked to her going on 3 years now. And you know, it's sometimes, you know, I'm a human, you know, sometimes I'm like, fuck, man, you know, that's my mom. And And I'm going to say, I love my mom. And I think that as far as raising us as a single mother in the 80s was tough. So she did the best she could. But she didn't learn anything from it. As we got older, as my brother died, I get older, she still wants to belittle me, make me feel less than, you know. I'm not saying this to brag. I'm not saying this to boast myself, but I came from the depths of hell to working a legitimate job where I make six figures a year. I am the manager of my company. I own a beautiful home. I have a beautiful family. In my mother's eyes, I'm still that 12 and 14-year-old kid that was a burden on her. You know what I mean? So, wow. Yeah, I never shared that. I never shared that ever, bro. Ever. My sponsor, the only person I've ever shared that shit with.
Yo, thank you for sharing that, man. I'm sorry to hear about your brother, man. My condolences. And, it's unfortunate, that you don't speak to your mother, but like you said, you made a decision and, you got to decide what's better for your life, and that was the choice you made. So, and that's how you felt, man. And I completely respect that. And I understand that. Thank you for sharing that. And that's what I want to encourage people on this platform to do is to express vulnerability because I could just tell by your expression how relieved you were to share that. Just so relieved, man. And I felt that energy, and that made me reflect on certain things going on in my life right now, and even in my childhood. So, like from the bottom of my heart, man, like really thank you for sharing that, brother.
Uh, you know, Thank you for allowing me to. Thank you for, giving me the courage to share that. I've been very fortunate to watch your podcasts. Very, very blessed that somehow, some way, me and you made a connection. You know, um, it's crazy because I'm still a pretty reserved, like in the fact that I don't let a lot of people in,
Hmm.
and there's you and a few other people who I've met through this fucking IG. What the fuck is IG? You know,
Crazy.
it's crazy because I've met some people who their energy, their vibe has attracted me to them,
Hmm.
and by watching your podcasts and talking with you, man, I felt like I could share that kind of shit with you.
Yeah, man. Honestly, Instagram, I barely got it like last year, dude. I was one of those guys that was like mainly because I was getting in trouble with my kid's mother and social media and shit. Not gonna lie, I didn't have, I didn't have one for about 8 years. So I came back, and it's like a whole nother world, man. And it has its pros and its cons, but if you can find a way to, I guess, separate both and really focus on the positive in it, because it can definitely be a distraction and it does have some toxicity in it. And that's primarily why I stayed away from it. But there's so many benefits. You mentioned the connection that we're making along with other people. It's huge. The opportunities out there are unlimited. The people we can reach and touch and share stories with and relate to and spread the message of experience, hope, and the solution, man. Like, and that's what it's all about. And that's what I'm doing here. That's why I'm doing this here for. So again, thank you, man. Like, I'm really looking forward to hearing more of your story, because I know like it's so hard to condense it, especially when we just have so much to say, bro. So
Right.
I want to ask you some questions. If you're not already done with touching up on certain things, if you do have more to say, by all means, go ahead if it refers to your childhood.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up for me, Johnny. I just wanted to share how really horrific it was, and I don't know if I put enough emphasis on it or not, But my house, you got your ass beat every day,
Mm-hmm.
and you got screamed at 24 hours a day. There was no love inside my home that we felt, and that really affected me as an adult getting clean too, because
Yeah.
you know you my kids, I mean, I had to learn how to be a parent because I couldn't do the way that I was parented. You know
Right.
what I mean? So, man, that was a tough deal too, and for the most part, it worked out okay, but yeah, so I'm ready for your questions, brother.
Yeah. I got them locked and loaded, dude. But I know what it's like to have a single mother be very stern on you. Um, my mom probably wasn't as tough as your mom. I don't want to say that, but I do want to say that I know what it's like for a single mother, and maybe she had to compensate for the lack of maybe your father being not being there. So I could understand that, but I mean, um, the love thing, like not receiving love or getting that attention, you were seeking it in different ways, in unhealthy ways. And you know, props to you, bro. Props to you for getting it together, man. I think you're doing a great job as a father. I think you're doing amazing things, even in your recovery by speaking. And you've gotten on a lot of platforms already, bro. Like, I know you got in with a few on Instagram, including this one. You're going to be on more on my channel. But yeah, I give you major props, bro. Like, I don't know how many times you hear this, but like, really thank you for everything that you're doing, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you, and you're very welcome, man. If we can touch one person, just one, then I, it's worth it.
Big
It's
time.
worth it. And before we get into these questions, real quick, I know that we were at the same meeting the other night,
Mhm.
and a young lady got on there, and she shared how she was fixing to give up, man. And I had met her the night before on another IG live. She had hit me up after that, and I'm talking to her quite a bit now, and she was going to give up and no God in her life. This staying clean and sober just wasn't something that she was wanting to really continue to do. And man, I think it's turned around. She's praying. She texted me this morning and thanked me. And I just tell her the same thing I tell you, anybody else. We do this shit together.
Mhm.
What you do with your podcast and helping people discover their vulnerability, that is in itself, Johnny, truly amazing in my heart. So thank you.
Yeah, brother. And you said it very well, discovering someone's vulnerability, because I feel like we can all be vulnerable, but the reason why people don't do it is because they have the misconception of it being weakness. In the contrary, like it's nothing but strength, brother. It's nothing but strength. And as soon as, people realize that, you can really dig deep down into that inner strength and like in a sense, like spiritually as well. And I think we're doing that by just setting an example. I think we really are doing that, brother.
Yeah.
So, yeah, without further ado, let me go on into these questions, man, because I'm gonna ask you two questions, right? So the first one is, um, what advice would you give yourself as a child if you had the opportunity?
Man, I guess, I mean, man, that is a really tough question. Really,
And
really tough. Because if I guess what I wish that somebody would have told me is that it's going to be okay. It's good. It's going to be okay. So if I was going to give myself that advice, wow, man, that is tough because, still sitting here thinking of all of the stuff that went on, I would give that advice, man, to hold on. And, obviously, the most obvious thing is stay away from dope.
Right.
Stay away from dope. I mean, that's the most obvious thing. But there's so much more to it than the dope. There's so much more. There's all of the mental shit that goes on. So I would say, stay away from the dope. Learn everything you possibly can, because it's going to be okay.
Well said, brother. Well said. And I think the reason why you want to say this to yourself is because it wasn't said to you. Like you said, that wasn't said to you. And it's very important to understand that words sometimes, actually a lot of the times, they really do mean a lot. And those simple words right there to just reassure somebody, to make them feel like there is hope, like there is faith, no matter what kind of bullshit you're going through. Hang tight, because it is going to be okay, man. I really love that, bro. Thank you for sharing that. So my next question, it's kind of similar, but it refers to you being a father and to your own kids. What is something that you constantly try to convey to your own children each and every single day? Like, is there a specific principle, or is there a specific message that you try to get across to them now?
Yeah, I do. And do what you say and say what you do.
Mm.
As kids, I shared with you earlier, lie until you die. And as kids, I think an escape is to, if they do something, they want to lie about it or not tell the whole truth to avoid the trouble that's coming. And so with my kids, I try to tell them, you're going to be in trouble for it. Sure, I get that. You're going to be in worse trouble if you lie. So if you always do what you say and say what you do, then you avoid all that bullshit in between.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty blessed right now because I feel that the kids are on the right path. I've had to learn through a lot of meetings and a lot of self-care that I can't control what they're going to do with their life. I can't force them to stay in school. I can't force them to get a good job. I can't force them to not use drugs. Only thing that I can do is lead by example. And I could bring the kids in here right now and they will tell you, if I say I'm going to do it, I do it. Plain and simple, So I think that it's really important for all of us to do what we say and say what we do, because there's so much backsliding, so much of that betrayal out there. And I felt the betrayal growing up, and I don't want my kids to ever feel that, Real quick, I'll share this. And I think you probably already know this, but I do have a 25-year-old son. Actually, he's 26 now. My apologies. Who's strung out on heroin. And I tried my very best to teach him morals, values. I tried. He chose the other way. He chose to wear my shoes instead of wearing his own, and man, he's out there struggling and he's out there fighting. And, I don't help him anymore financially. If he was hungry, of course, I would feed him, but I don't enable him in any way, because it wasn't until everybody had enough of my shit and gave up on me that I was like, I need to make a change. Mm-hmm. So, I can't tell you how grateful I am for this. because you dug up a lot of shit with me, Johnny, that I kind of hid, and shame on me because it's some healing shit. To voice the things that I told you about my mother, I don't know how to explain it. I feel peace right now. I'm cool, man.
Yeah, brother. Hey, you just said so much in that I need to backtrack because there is so much you said right now that I related to, and I need to ask you just one more question, but I'm gonna hold off on that because I just need to ask you this question. It's something that I've been wanting to ask you too. But about the control thing with your children, man, I feel you on that because as addicts, it's hard for us. We want the control. It's almost like we need to control everything, but the fact of the matter is that we can't. All we can do is set the example, right? And I think that's one of the reasons that really motivated me to do this. For example, let's say, Lord forbid, I pass before my kids get old enough, they can see what I was trying to do, and hopefully it could steer them in the right direction. And like you said, if not, then that's on them. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully they learn from what I went through and many other people that are on this platform. So yeah, that really resonated with me. And then I gotta ask you, man, about your son. Um, I know not I know like enabling him, that's got to be tough. Like you're seeing him struggle, you're seeing him go through all of this turbulence, and to not give him money anymore, to probably wonder what he's at, who he's with, what he's doing. I cannot imagine me going through that without having him being with me. But that's something I will be doing more damage to him than good. And I want to thank you because that's very courageous, bro. And if I ever get in that situation, I know exactly who to talk to and guide me through that. So my question for you is exactly about that is where do you find the strength, or how do you get in that mindset to say, you know what? I can't enable him. I'm only hurting him. And I know like I'm saying it, the way I'm saying it, it is what it is, but like to do it, that's a whole nother thing. How do you find that strength and how do you get into that mindset?
So uh, I enabled him. I did for a long time. He'd go to jail. I'd be out there every Thursday, leaving money on his books, talking to him, preaching Narcotics Anonymous. I did that, and I did it several times. He was 6 months before he graduated high school. This kid never had to do homework, never had to do shit. He was just smart, book smart. And he came home one day and he said, I ain't going back to school. And I said, what do you mean you're not going back to school? He said, I'm not. I quit. I'm like, dude, think about that. You got 6 months. No, he got into a big old fight. He took off, whatever, big man, gonna leave. So I did enable him, Johnny. I did this several times. He went to jail when he was 18 and ended up having 6 months to do in there. Every Thursday I'm there. I go to the judge because while he was in there, he was studying to get his GED.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were having outside people come in and teach them and study with them for their GED. Well, then they were having the graduating ceremony up at the college. So I go to the judge and I'm like, listen, I know he's sentenced here, but will you entrust him with me so I can take him to pick up his diploma and I'll bring him back. And through several emails, conversations, the judge let this happen. I take him to do that. He gets out of jail. He's out 2 days. He's back sticking needles in his arm, fucking it up. Just not even a year ago, he was in jail again, got a hold of me and convinced me and Mandy to let him come and live with us. Yeah, so I got him that job and he didn't come home. I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? So I'm like calling him, you know, telling him, hey man, people who are getting clean and sober don't do this kind of shit. Well, then Monday rolls around and I get a phone call from a friend of mine who owns this company that gave him the job. And he's like, hey man, your son didn't pass the piss test. And I'm like, I've been doing this shit all these years, and he pulled the wool over my eyes. Like I was the master of that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I got a hold of him and I said, hey, you got to do this, man. I can't do it for you no more. Mandy can't do it for you no more. You've got to do this. And of course he was like, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, what we say, same shit. And I was like, hey man, I'm not mad at you. Let's don't get things fucked up here. I'm not mad at you, but I've been there and I've done that. So you need to do your thing. So we go in and we had a bedroom set up for him, everything. We go in and we're gathering up all of his clothes and everything. And Mandy finds this, I think it was called like Clean Piss or something like that. It was this little kit. And he tried, man. He tried to do it, you know. But so, you know, and I'm not mad at him today, man, because, you know, 10 years ago, I'd have been livid pissed, you know, but I've grown and I get it. I get it. But what I have understood in those 10 years is I cannot enable him. Mm-hmm. If I get him out of jail, if I go put money on his books or whatever, none of us quit doing what we did, Johnny, until the consequences became too severe. Mm-hmm. You know, so I prayed and prayed about it and shed some tears, of course, but I've got to let him find his way. And I'm, you know, of course, I'm praying daily that he finds the rooms like we did before he finds a grave, you know, and I'm not saying that I would be at peace if he died, but I also know today that that is a fact, you know, that's what happens to us. Jails, institutions, or death, you know. So yeah, that's my enabling story for him. And that's how I've decided to stay strong. And, you know, I've really had to rein in Mandy because she wants to, you know, help him. And we don't know where he's at right now. We know that he's around somewhere, but we can't do it, man. You know, if somebody would have kept enabling me and somebody would have kept bailing me out of jail and somebody would have kept putting money on my books, there's no consequence there. You know, there's none. So, you know, I'm grateful for the people who turned their back on me, or so I thought, you know. Today, I'm grateful for those people. And I think that one day he'll be grateful, you know, through all of this, Johnny, I've taken him to a lot of meetings. Well, he grew up going to meetings with me. But since he started his journey into drug addiction, I've taken him to a lot of meetings. I've sat and read literature with him. So hopefully when he does get clean, he'll remember, hey, I can go sit down there in them rooms and save my ass. So
yeah, no, I think one powerful thing you said right there is that, you know, you just can't control him really. And like the fact that you would enabling him, we really do have to learn things the hard way. You know, we don't get any consequences. Like you said, we're going to keep doing the same shit. Either that, or you just got to be extremely tired. You know, you just got to be extremely tired of living that lifestyle. You just got to wake up one day. I know there's several people, they say they had to hit rock bottom, or they just woke up just tired, drained of that lifestyle. So unfortunately, that's one thing that's going to have to happen. And I know that if I was ever in that situation, I'm extremely fortunate to be able to talk to somebody like yourself, man.
Well, yes. Thank you. Believe me, bro, it's my honor. This has helped me more than it has ever helped you. I promise you, because that weight that I've been carrying for the last 3 years is finally, I'm at peace right now with my childhood, you know, and I owe that to this right here, you know, to that right there. What?
Yo, I see you. Hey, that's dope, man. I'm gonna show you some red ones too, dude. No, but seriously, man, seriously, you actually have helped me tremendously, man, and I know I could count on you in the future, and that's the beauty of this journey and this community, man. So anybody that's out there, you know, peeping this video, just know you're definitely not alone, and this really is a fucking family. Like, you have no idea how much support you will get. So once again, Marty, thank you for joining me, brother. Looking forward to having you again on a different subject matter. Let's run it, bro. I'm excited about it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I am extremely excited about getting my story out from the beginning now all the way through to how I'm sitting here talking to you, because that's where the story has taken us now, is to
Right.
here, you know. And one last thing I want to say about the family. I have truly, you know, and I hit you up, Johnny. This has been weeks ago. I hit you up and I told you, I said, hey, man, thank you for being solid. Because in our life, there is none of that. You know what I mean? In active addiction, there is nobody who is solid. I don't care. I don't want to hear the stories because I've been there and I've done it. Nobody is solid in active addiction until you both get on this side where you can truly see it. And when I express to you about being solid, that's because I see that. I see what you're doing for fucked up junkies like me, and brother, you're solid. And so, you know, I hope that this makes the cut, that Grounded Phoenix is helping save lives, man. Helping save lives, you know. And the selfish side of that is you're saving your own ass. You feel me?
True. That's true. It actually does help me, man. It really does. So does journaling, so does going to meetings, so does reflecting. But this really gives me like a sense of purpose, man. And to hear your kind words, man, dude, it really does mean a lot to me. Truly, it gives me more motivation to keep on striving to do this. But things like hearing what you just said earlier about helping that girl that was just about to give up, man, like that's so inspiring. And this incident, this message is gonna reach others that watch this. So it's forever gonna be touching people, man. So once again, Marty, thank you, man. I really appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person one day, brother. Until next time.
Yeah, for sure. Keep it grounded, brother.
That's right, baby. That's right.
I'll never be the same.